Hello everyone! Some time ago I was invited by a colleague to try playing a few games of Pokemon TCG. Wait, hold up, no, you haven't clicked on the wrong video, trust me, this is going somewhere. We were 4 that night, 2 hours with no decks of ours, so the other 2 lent us a couple of days. I have to say it was a pretty fun and refreshing, a simpler and faster game than what I'm used to. Would I play it with the same frequency I'd play Commander? You can bet we started talking about the game's design and compared it to Magic, as every one of us has or had their own experience with it. Call it professional bias. It was a very interesting discussion, as no 2 of us had the same opinion. I love playing Casual Commander, and that's absolutely my favorite format in Magic. One of them tried Casual Commander for some time, but finds himself to be more engaged by 1v1 formats and is currently exploring Pre-Modern. Another one never really enjoyed Magic as a whole that much, preferring other games like, indeed, Pokemon TCG. This got me thinking, so I interrogated myself about why Commander is the most popular format and why do I enjoy it so much more than other ones. I also asked the people on my Discord server why they play Commander, and I got some interesting responses. Oh, by the way, you too can join the Basking Capybaras Discord server so that we can turn this crowd into this. The invite link is in the video description, see you there. So, I felt like sharing my own vibes and thoughts on why I specifically enjoy this format. Maybe you can find yourself in my words or get a better understanding of a format you do not enjoy, or tell me, stop talking shit Cappy, go play competitive pauper. When I started playing Magic back in 2017, I went to a couple open house events to get my hands on one of those free starter decks and get to learn the basics. I started playing with some more experienced friends, and initially we played Kitchen Table Modern, essentially kitchen table vibes with modern legality. Since we often were in an odd number of players, we used to play multiplayer variants, so it was a matter of time before my friends moved on to Commander and I, with not many options or different ideas, followed them into that. So hey, big surprise, this is the same experience of many others. You want to play Magic and people around you mainly play Commander. What do you do then if you enjoy shuffling actual cardboard rectangles instead of clicking on a screen and you care about the gathering part of Magic the Gathering? You play Commander! And that was the case for me too, initially. But why did Commander stick in the end? I believe there are multiple reasons for me, but the one that matters the most is the great room for self-expression. This is supported by multiple factors that unavoidably need to coexist and work together to bring this great casual environment, in my opinion. To begin, I am a strong believer that Commander has a few pillars in its rule set that make it unique and allow it to stand out on this matter. Well, first off, obviously, always having your Commander available surely provides a big outlet for self-expression. For many, it's for the flavor of the character, or ship, I suppose. For me, it's for the possibility of making mechanics shine. Say, I am not sure I could build a Cascade deck with little to no cards with Cascade naturally if I could not play emote in the command zone, or make a crazy ass deck relying on token replacement effects if I didn't have one already available, like Pairing It Took, which also gives me an outlet for using those tokens. Or mix together Mill and Aristocrats using Zelix as the glue that connects these two usually separate archetypes. Triviality aside, all the rest of the rules is incredibly important. Cards legality, giving an extremely vast pool from which to build your decks. The singleton rule, forcing you to find ways other than having multiple copies of the same cards to make sure you get what you need in your games, while also forcing some variance from game to game. And yes, the infamous color identity rule. I am a big supporter of the color identity rule. Restrictions breed creativity. That's also why I enjoy making 8-bit music on my Game Boy. I might dedicate a separate lecture video on the color identity discourse sometime in the future, but to cut it short, I do believe it makes this format what it is. My favorite deck is probably my Octavia deck, a mono-blue build in which I had so much fun in finding interesting ways to overcome the weaknesses of being locked into that single color. From weird ways to ramp, to game-ending interaction options, it's always a joy to play. The deck would probably benefit from accessing more colors, but as much as having 6 copies of the same card in Standard will benefit any deck. If you look at it from another perspective, color identity in Commander and the 4 copies limit in Standard are both arbitrary rules that make those formats what they are, hence why I can't think of the former as a bug, but only as a feature. But enough on Commander rules, I do really enjoy the multiplayer nature as well. Of course you can also play 1v1 Commander. In the end, it just changes how decks are built and which are stronger, but generally it's agreed upon that the multiplayer and social aspect of Commander are an integral part of the experience. Mechanically, I like the inherent political layer of the game. It becomes not just a game of deck building and gameplay skill, but even more a game of cunning and persuasion. Your strategy may be put in action right now, giving you a chance to close out the game on the spot, but why not wait till the others have dealt with the only player who can reasonably stop you from doing that, for instance? I also have great memories of all the times the whole table started scrambling together to find an answer to the Storm player about to deal a shit ton of damage to everyone. Or anyway, why not just bluff and wait for someone else to deal with that while you sit on your interaction for later? Expecting multiplayer gameplay from the get-go translates into interesting deck building challenges, requiring you to account for the fact that you need to keep in check, knock down and protect yourself from 3 opponents that also interact with each other, while you get a turn out of 4 in a rotation instead of 1 out of 2. More opponents means exponentially incrementing the ramification of every game action, having you adapt to the current game state on the go all the time. I love that. This creates an additional strategic and tactical layer that you don't really see in 1v1 gameplay, where you can more easily predict the evolution of a game in advance, especially in competitive formats with well-defined metas. Player skills, the ability to predict the next moves of your opponents, and micro-deck building optimization are way more relevant in that case. Even a smaller skill gap between players can already determine the winner of the game, more often than not. In Commander, even a less experienced player can have their shot at winning. Of course, it's not like player skill is irrelevant, and the higher the bracket the more important it becomes, but it's not unlikely that even when you are still learning to read the complexity of the game, with a good deck, some politics and some luck of the draw, and yes, even your opponents going for each other's throat all the time, you can close the game in your favor and get better at it for the next time. This is a fact that, in my opinion, is fundamental for the social aspect. It's not like you won't find spikes or bad actors in Commander, far from that, but the context really helps a lot in cultivating a great social experience. The format is balanced around for players free for all, but it can scale up and down with no big issues, provided you don't make a huge pot and split it up if needed. That's why multiplayer tabletop games are widely and casually played in social context, while it's a bit rarer to see a group of friends gathering to play, I don't know, chess or Hive, to say a couple one-on-one games. Hell, that's the very reason why I used to play homebrew variants of 60-card Magic with my friends before we moved on to Commander. Last but not the least on this subject, there are some card designs that work pretty differently in a multiplayer game or don't work at all in 1v1. And they can be pretty fun too. I am still searching for a deck in which to play Share the Spoils. Together with that, there are many strategies that wouldn't be easily viable in other formats, which are instead more than playable in Commander. You don't even need your deck to be hyper optimized, unless you're playing at a particularly higher power level. All I said so far can indeed be applied to 60-card formats. I bet some of you who got this far into the video already thought about it and maybe started writing that in a comment. You can technically play 60-card multiplayer variants. You can have big variety and self-expression anyway if you don't follow the meta and play more of a kitchen table format. Yet Commander is the flagship format for this type of experience. So why is that? Well, that's because we live in a society. Yes, Commander is obviously way more pushed at the forefront by Wizards of the Coast, with all the related products and card design of the last few years, and that has a big impact indeed. I see it more as a feedback loop though. EDH is created, people enjoy it, Wizards of the Coast sees it, makes a specialized product, people play more Commander, Wizards of the Coast sees it and pushes even more product, so even more people play Commander, and so on. Up to a certain saturation, of course. That's in part how we unfortunately got Universes Beyond. But I won't go into the boo capitalism bad rabbit hole for now. What I also believe contributes greatly to my enjoyment of the format is the absurd cultural zeitgeist that it represents in the Magic universe. There is on average a shared consensus of what this format is, what's the philosophy behind it and what to expect from it. We got brackets, which although imperfect are an incredibly useful tool for communicating your expectation to others and adapt the Commander experience to your liking with a shared language. Where following the meta and being competitive is sold as the default mode of other formats, Commander still is casual at heart. Playing CDH is generally an intentional choice, rather than the default. And of course, you can do anything with your friends if everybody agrees, even playing Vintage but you mix 3 Pokemon cards in the deck and games are timed like chess. The difference is casual play is usually the base expectation in Commander, not something you need to intentionally seek and get others to agree on. Then you can play competitive formats casually, including Bracket 5 Commander or CDH, call it as you wish. The problem is it's still competitive gameplay, and I believe the vast majority of people get tired of that fast. Hi, I'm part of that vast majority. But back to the cultural zeitgeistness of Commander, look at the creators, there are so many creators on these and other platforms, everyone bringing diverse views and ideas on the Commander format and Commander deck building, including gameplay channels. There is always something new you can learn from the others, or a different perspective or playstyle you might not have considered yet. My own opinions and ideas are a mixture of my own cooking and the opinions of others around me and fellow creators I follow. The very fact I am here spending many hours of my free time making these videos is part of my enjoyment of the format. There are so many things that can be shown, said and analyzed. I believe these semi-ramble thoughts I just petted you do describe well enough what I like of this game mod. And you! Yes, you! Why do you like Commander? Why don't you like it? Why are you already typing "Stop talking shit, Cappy, go play competitive pauper"? Let me know in the comments below. Or even better, come join the Basking Capybaras Discord server, invite link in the description. Oh, and also leave a like and subscribe, that helps too. And with this, I guess I'm done with this video. Bye! Hello, thank you for watching so far. I must admit I underestimated the time it will take me to adjust to the new work pipeline with my new equipment, and the time it will take to redesign even just partially the visual identity of this channel. And it's been also a pretty busy and rough period in real life, but it's going better. I hope to see many of you on the Discord server, so we can have a chat, play some games, I don't know, whatever people do on Discord servers. The link is in the description, but I think you already know at this point. I'm not sure I have much else to say. I still don't even really know how to use this section here, but someday I'll say something funny here. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye!